Good morning, everyone. I have one question for you. Are you ready to get booped on the brain? Today on Learn with Jason, we have the one and only Aisha Blake. Aisha, how are you?
I'm doing.
That is I think, a very appropriate answer for strange days. So Aisha, I usually I have my guests do their own intros, but I want to do yours because I am just such a big fan of your work. Aisha has been I've been familiar with Aisha for years now. I think we met back in 2014,
Yeah,
and Aisha was a teacher at a code school in Detroit, right? Like that's what you were doing,
yeah,
and
yeah.
you are just such a fascinating person because you're like big in the couch surfing scene and you've got all these teaching skills. You're a killer developer. You teach a lot about like catalytic skills and how to actually get things done, which I, is as we all know, is something that I care a lot about, and I think is so critical to actually advancing. Um, and now you are. I'll let you take over from here. Do you want to add anything to that and talk about what you're doing now?
Yeah, for sure. So, as of a few months ago, I joined the learning team at Gatsby. And so I have been kind of taking all of those things and been able to meld them into one role that I actually get paid for the first time, which has been pretty great. Yeah, so I largely maintain and write documentation for Gatsby, and that kind of gets mixed in with things like streaming and giving talks and teaching workshops, that sort of thing. Yeah.
One very important thing that I can't believe we both forgot to mention is that Aisha is a killer singer. She, she and I were at a conference in Romania called JS Heroes, and we ended up at the weirdest karaoke bar I've ever been in.
It was
It
amazing.
was like a dungeon. You went downstairs, and then you were in this. It looked like it was hewn out of rock. And Aisha, like everybody's signing up for karaoke, and we're all up there doing our bad renditions of whatever. And then Aisha gets up there and just like slays, and we all were just like, okay, I guess we're not going to sign up for any more karaoke. Oh man. Oh, and we got Chris DeMars in the chat who was absolutely at that same karaoke bar. Yeah, so hello chat. Thank you for showing up today. Looks like we got a couple folks representing Detroit in the chat. Chris,
Yeah.
thank you so much for the sub. I am just thrilled to bits that we're going to do this today, and this is something that I think is really important for Gatsby developers. So, do you want to introduce what we're going to do today?
Absolutely. So, today we're going to be talking about internationalization, which I am really excited about. You may have seen that shortened to the numeronym I18N. So, one of the projects that I've been working on at Gatsby is actually internationalization of the gatsbyjs.org website. So the site that we hold our documentation on. And been working with Nat Allison, who also did a similar project for React.
Mm-hmm.
And so she's been really great. It's definitely not something that I had a ton of experience with before, and so I'm super grateful to have the benefit of her knowledge and experience. Um, and so, yeah, we're going to talk about kind of how you might go about getting your own website ready to translate.
Excellent.
And so make that available in however many languages you're able to get content in.
All right. So, this is going to be a great time. Oh, look, we got Amberly in chat. Hello, Amberly. It's good to see you.
Yay!
Oh, Alexander Spalato is in the chat as well. Jeez, we got everybody here. This is going to be a good day. I'm excited. Let's do this. Let's switch over to code mode. And first, I would like to point out. Look at this wallpaper. This is new. I'm very proud of it.
Oh, look
Um,
at you. So fancy.
and I'm ready. I want to internationalize a site. So what would we do here? Like what's our step one?
Yeah, so let's start off, I think, with a blog starter
Okay.
to kind of give us a starting point.
Okay. And that is Gatsby starter blog?
Yes.
Okay. And I'm using npx so that we get the latest version of the Gatsby CLI, using the new command, and then choosing the repo that I want to use, which is the Gatsby starter hello blog.
Beautiful. Yeah, it's going to take a second.
Okay, this would be a wonderful time, chat, to play some elevator music. I'm a little upset that you're sleeping on it.
I really enjoy the bits and pieces of your like stream tech that I see you playing with. It's a lot of fun.
That's not the one. That's the Chris is just active trolling at this point.
Nice.
This is iTerm Max with there's a theme on here that I don't remember what it was. If you are interested, I have my setup, I believe, is all in there somewhere in my .dot files.
I did see a question about whether this is the same tech that we are going to use, or that we're using for the Gatsby internationalization. And I will say this is going to be a little different. There are a couple other concerns that we kind of had to take into account when we were doing that work. So I'm happy to talk about that, and absolutely also point people to kind of the conversation that we're having on GitHub even now, because that work is probably still at least a few weeks out.
Shit, I did a dumb thing.
What'd you do?
I'm gonna fix it.
I see.
Damn it.
Happens to the best of us, clearly.
It's been a while since I've not just like the last few times that I've done this. I have just started with an empty folder and like written the whole thing myself. So I haven't used starters in a while. So what I forgot to do was name my project. So now we're running Gatsby new, the name of the project, and then we're choosing a starter. So what I did before was I just named my project Gatsby starter blog, and that was actually incorrect because it didn't use the starter blog. It cloned the default starter into a folder called. So that was just me being.
All right, I think I need a adult supervision here.
Correct. That is correct, Eco. Hey, Will, thank you so much for the sub. I really appreciate it. We're killing it with the subs lately. I really, really appreciate y'all. And don't forget, if you get a sub, you get all sorts of custom emotes. You can boop everyone in chat, which is, I think, just a great time. You can also share a picture of a corgi with a beard, which I think is I mean, we can all agree that's the most important one.
Really?
Yeah, there's also a beard emoji. There's a holy bucket. A holy bucket. I do love the holy bucket when things go wrong, or when things go right. We like to celebrate with a holy bucket.
I think it's important to do both. Kind of you balance them out.
Yeah,
Stuff goes wrong, you pick yourself back up. Stuff goes right, you celebrate.
Holy buckets, indeed. Okay, so now I've actually done the right thing, I think, and I'm going to move into this project, and we'll open it. So let's take a look at what we've done here. So we've got a basic Gatsby starter blog. Okay, we used the right one, and this comes with quite a bit configured by default. So what's the best way to explore this, you think? Should I just start it up?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, so I think there's a script for that. There is. I can just yarn develop. Yeah, I have sold some stickers. So last week, or I guess earlier this week. Wow, what an adventure this has been. This week has felt like a year. We are going to, let's see, we built a store and I cleaned it up a little bit. And so now you can actually buy a sticker pack as well. But keep in mind, because of the quarantine, we're not doing any fulfillment. So these are being treated as pre-orders, and they'll be sent out as soon as they are done. But if you want to get some stickers, this is a fun way to get some silly stuff for your laptop, and it supports me as a creator, which I really appreciate. And yeah, this 5 sticker pack is a deal. at $10 plus. I think it's $3.50 for shipping and handling. So yeah, go grab a sticker. Get some boopy stickers. Boop your laptop.
Nice. I have two brand new laptops that have nothing on them right now. And so I'm going to need to change that.
Clearly you need to boop that laptop. Okay, so we've got a blog. So this is our basic blog. We can jump in to any of these pages and see them. So all right, we're in good shape here. And if we look through the code, we can see we've got our index page, and this index page runs a query to get all of the markdown files. Okay, it gets the excerpt, slug, some front matter, and then it loops through and creates our blog post. So great. All right, this is awesome. Where do we go from here?
Yeah. So we actually we're working on there's a whole theme that is hopefully going to happen in the near future that is going to make this kind of more of a priority for Gatsby as a whole. And so I'm really, really excited about that work as well. But since that's still pretty new, we are going to start with an existing plugin called Gatsby Plugin I18N.
Okay, so let's actually do this. I'm going to stop in here and I'm going to pull up this terminal so that we can work in one window. And cool. I'm going to, or let's see, am I using Yarn? I think I am. Yarn add Gatsby plugin, what was it? I18N?
It is I18N. You can use npm for this.
Well, I was actually just looking, like I think I started with Yarn, and so I think I'll
yep. Then you will want to
stay with it to avoid weirdness. I hit that issue sometimes where like I always use Yarn by default, but then sometimes I download a repo that's got a package lock, and then I like break everything, and then we get to spend half the episode debugging what I just did wrong.
Definitely want to stay consistent with your package managers. For sure.
Hey, Lori's in the chat too. What's up, Lori?
Hi, Lori.
All right, so I've got it installed. We now have Gatsby plugin I18N. So what's next?
Sweet. So now we want to configure that plugin. So you're going to head back over to your Gatsby config.js, and we are going to add that to our array.
Okay. And does it matter where I put it?
I believe not. Okay. I always add them to the end of the array just because
to the end we go. All right.
But in this case, I don't think it matters.
And do I need to, is this a named plugin or do I need to add some configuration?
We're going to add some configuration to this.
So we're going to add Gatsby plugin I18N and an options object.
And so we're going to start with lang key default, and we're going to set that to English.
Lang key like this?
Lang key default.
Default?
Mm-hmm. Yep. So we're telling the plugin like this is our default language, and we're going to use
like this
just
one?
en.
Oh, just en. Got it. Okay.
Yeah. And then you're also going to include a use lang key layout. So a separate layout for the lang for each lang key, and we're going to set that to false.
Okay.
So by default, all of our pages are going to be the same layout. We're not going to worry about configuring different layouts. So which you might want to do, particularly if you are supporting, for example, a right to left language.
Mm-hmm. This is what I like about like when the guests that are on this show are actual teachers. Because I was like about to ask you that question, and you were like, you have a question. I'm going to answer it. And yeah, and so a right to left language, or like I saw. Did you see Mina Markham's talk on localization for Slack?
No,
Oh my
and
God.
I'm
Okay.
gonna have to
Yeah, let's see if we can find it.
do it. I got to see one of the best things, honestly, that
I think it's this one.
Girl Develop It gave me was I actually got to introduce Mina Markham at one of our summits.
Yeah, yes. Mina Markham is the best. I've had the pleasure of watching her speak a couple times, and she's so good. This talk is incredible because it talks not just about like translation, but about full localization, where you're not just taking the words and translating the words, but you're taking the feel and you're translating it across culture. So what's really interesting in this talk is she talks about how at Slack, when they were working on like a version of the website to launch in Japan, they didn't just like change the words. They changed the people in the Slack like avatars. They changed color schemes. They simplified layouts, and like it's a really good talk. Like I'm not going to do it justice by trying to nutshell it here, but you should definitely go watch that. It's extremely good. Um,
Absolutely.
Lori is talking about Jen Simmons talking about writing directions in CSS layout. I have not seen that talk. Drop that link, Lori. Um, oh, she now no. Lori's just trying to tell us how cool she's. Like, I was in the room.
Oh yeah. This is Lori, I code and I know things Barth talking, so
Oh boy, deep cuts in the chat today. All right. Okay, so I've configured this plugin. Do we need to add any other config here?
yes. So we are actually I walked through this on my own website and I do not remember if we include the remark plugin in here to begin with, yeah?
Remark, yes.
Okay, cool. So yes, we have a little bit more to go. So you were going to add a markdown remark property to that options object.
Markdown remark. Oh, sorry, here. Got it.
Mm-hmm.
Markdown remark. True.
Yep. And so we're gonna feed it the template that we use for blog posts, since this is a blog. And you're gonna want the name for that property as well. That's post page.
Post page.
Mm-hmm. And so.
And is that this one?
Mm-hmm. So you're gonna give that path to that file there.
Blog post.
Yep.
And I use require resolve out of an abundance of caution, because I think we found back in the day when Chris Biscardi, who was in the chat today, was working on themes, we found that require resolve gave us expected results, whereas other approaches did not. And so now I just use require resolve even when I'm not sure I need to, because I know it's not going to break if I put this into a theme later.
Fair enough.
And Lori did find that talk, so let's
sweet.
Let's pull it up for a second. We won't actually listen to it, but CSS Day 2017. So this is a good thing to add to the. I'll put that in the show notes. It's also in the chat right now if you want to watch it. But yeah, maybe hold off for like a little bit. Let's do this and then do that. All right. So I've configured this. We've got English as our default language. We're going to use the same layout for all languages that we have. And we are telling it that for remark, we want to use this as our post template.
Yep. And we are also going to give that a query. So we have a couple more here. Query, and then this, it might be easier to make sure we get this right for you to grab the plugin page, and I can send you that. But yep.
Okay, so we've got the post page, and then we've got a query. And so what we're doing here is we're making a query for all of the markdown remark edges and nodes. And then do you want to talk about why? What is this for?
So we're gonna want to associate that slug and a particular language key with each blog post. So the way that this works is we're gonna be able to create separate files for each of the languages that we are translating into.
Okay.
So the query here that we're using is going to allow us to source the correct content based on the route that we're at.
Got it. So we're kind of doing is we're telling it how to associate the slug with the language.
Mm-hmm.
I understand. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Cool. And then last, coming out of that markdown remark, and this page will also give you kind of all of the options available. The other one that I think a lot of people will probably want to know about is this last one, prefix default. So by default, this is true. And so all pages are going to have that prefix, that language prefix. So in our case, that would be EN.
So what you're talking about is like it would be example.org/en/home.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Okay.
And so if you wanted to remove that, EN/EN for your default language, whatever your default language is, you can set that property to false.
And so a reason to do that would be if you have an existing site where everything is already created and you don't want to break all your URLs, that's a good reason. But if you have a brand new site, then it probably makes sense to include the language in the. It probably makes sense to include that. We have a question about seeing the query in GraphQL. Absolutely, let's do that. Is this going to work if I just fire it up now? Should I leave the prefix default?
You can leave the prefix default off. It'll default to true.
Okay, so I'm going to run yarn develop now that we've set this up, and then I'm going to copy this query, and we will take this to graphical. Oops, didn't like something. What happened?
It may just be that we haven't set up our. That was there before, which I'll look into.
Okay, all right. So that's nothing broke. Okay, so we're in good shape.
Nothing broke.
So let's go to localhost. Wow, localhost. GraphQL, and then let's run this query.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I typoed. So we're missing our lang key. Do we have to create that first?
So we don't have any posts or pages that are keyed.
Okay.
Yet. So if we want to look at, let's say, so all of these pages that we've got, both of these pages that we've got, we want to add that key to the file name. So in our case, that's going to be 404.en.js and index.en.js and so on. And you'll do the same with markdown files.
Interesting. Okay, I haven't seen this approach. Nikki asks a question. If you use en.example.org instead of example.org/en, is that ye old way?
I like that. And actually, I don't know that I don't know if I would call that ye old way necessarily. I think it, for our purposes, it is not necessary for to do like a subdomain, but I'm honestly not sure what kind of the
I have a couple opinions on this. So the The way that I see it is like if you're creating en.yoursite.org, what you're doing is you're effectively creating a new website for each language. So that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's going to disassociate all of the SEO rankings for that domain into separate subdomains, which is its own thing. And maybe that's okay if you only want like Spanish language content to rank for Spanish Google and so on. Um, but it also it creates kind of an ops overhead because now instead of building one site that has all of the content kind of indexed under it, you're building like however many languages, like
Well,
hundreds of languages,
yes.
right? So
And
hundreds
if
of
you have a
websites.
team for each of those, if your strategy involves kind of having a different approach to your site content for each of those languages that you're trying to target, maybe that makes sense. But and so I wouldn't, and that's why I say I wouldn't necessarily call it like ye old way, but more like that feels like a very specific use case. And if that's a thing that you need, then maybe that's appropriate. But I would imagine for most people, you wanna make as much use of the work that you've kind of already put in as you can.
Yeah. So I'm hitting an error, and I think it might just be because we started without blank keys, and then
Oh,
didn't
possibly.
didn't clear the cache, and it didn't like reread those files. So I'm gonna try. Oh no, but still doesn't like it. Okay, so we're missing something, and I don't know if I'm. So I've got my index.en.md.
See, I've
This
got my own. I've got my own deal over here running as well. So we'll see.
maybe I need to copy paste this query.
It's
Maybe I screwed
entirely
something up.
possible I missed something, but I don't think so.
Let's copy paste. Edges, node, fields, slug, lang key. Now I have to clean this up because I can't not clean this up. What is... Try that one more time. Okay, so it doesn't like something that we're doing, and it's like it's missing.
Yeah.
I wonder
Let's
if we need to
see.
put the international. Well, no, because that wouldn't. Does it modify the remark stuff? Like, do we need to put it in front of remark in the chain?
Definitely not. I think if anything, it would need to come, like if there is an interaction there, I think it would need to come after. So I'm looking at the site that I've got built with it now, and yeah.
Well, we know it'll work if I remove the lang key, because the problem is that it can't query the lang key. But we need that for, well, like we need that to work. And so,
Yeah.
did I typo one of the keys? Lang
Let's
key
see.
default. Use lang key
good.
layout. Use lang key layout. Markdown remark. Markdown remark. Post page. Maybe I can't do this thing. Like maybe it doesn't want me to do that.
Maybe
That doesn't seem like it would be the problem, but
it doesn't.
I'm gonna
But
try it either way.
I feel like that's a lot of my work is like, I feel like this shouldn't be a problem, but let's try it.
Okay, so it still doesn't like this. All right.
We're doing great.
We're gonna get this. Let's go look at the demo. Where was
Yeah,
that demo?
there is
So I want to
in that
see
same repo, there is
Gatsby plugin on APM. Now this one's not going to use remark though.
that's true.
Use line key, prefix default.
Uh,
Hmm.
I'm while you're looking over there, I am gonna
Chat, do y'all see anything obvious here? Like, am I missing?
see. Hmm.
Yeah, it just doesn't like this line key because this will run, right? But it won't do. Only got this field. Hmm.
uh, Chris wants to know what the command is to get you to look at chat.
Yeah, I do need to resolve. That's the one. So yeah, what am I missing? I'm looking. So I've got the query. The query runs if we leave out the line key, but the line key is not registering at all,
Mm-hmm.
which means what? So something is up with the internals here, and I don't know what causes it. So maybe we just look at what this does on the inside. Into the source code we go.
Woo!
Let's see. So on create node. I want to look at on create node.
Mm-hmm.
So we get the file path. All right. Ooh, there's a lot going on in here. All right, so we're chaining get slug and lang. Where's that? Get slug and lang. That comes from something else. And so it's supposed to create a node field if the internal type is markdown remark. So it's not doing that. And I'm wondering, I'm gonna try something
Yeah.
that is going to be really frustrating if that's the case, but I think that we might have to have this registered before markdown remark runs.
Let's try it.
So that the listener is there. I did refresh the graphical. That's so oh, no, it's dead now. All right, let's try this.
We're gonna get there.
Oh, I thought that was it. I thought it worked. Okay, so it still doesn't like that. So it's like something is going wrong, but it's not clear how or why.
That feels appropriate.
Okay.
Okay. Let's see. So what we can do is back up and let's try maybe the like simple install and focus on the pages as opposed to the post to see if we can get that going.
Okay, yeah, let's do that. So we'll
add markdown remark and not markdown remark fields.
No, I don't think so. Let's look, but so we're here. We've got our edges.
Mm-hmm.
There is no lang key in here. Mm-hmm. Like we're not getting a lang key. So for whatever reason, it's just not picking up. So the way that I would go about at this point, it seems like something that's going wrong in the plugin itself. So I would end up in the node modules console logging from the the installed version of the module, but I would rather get something to work. So let's back out here, and we are going to create a new site. And did you want to use like the Hello World starter and we go real bare bones, or do you want to do like the default starter?
We can do the default starter. That should be fine.
Okay. 2. Oh, that was such a good opportunity for dot final. Damn it.
This is exactly what I thought too. I was like, oh, this is familiar. I was literally just talking to somebody about how I got started with web development. And I think I told you this story when we met, that I had started like with Neopets. And the way that I teach version control is I start off telling the story about how like I would make these pages for people, and inevitably I would want to change like one small thing, or I'd want to make sort of a different color scheme for one or whatever. And I would end up with these ridiculous variations of file names to differentiate between them. And because I didn't know what version control was.
Yeah. V1, V2, V2.final, V3, V3.final, .final, .final, .really final. All right. So we are almost done here. This is where I really wish I had just an endless supply of terrible jokes. I need to hang out with Shruti Kapoor more. She's got just this bottomless source of really bad developer jokes. They're groaners. All right, so we're gonna open this one instead, and we'll just pretend like nothing happened. All right, just everybody, all right, reset. We're back. We're like, hello and welcome to Learn with Jason. Let's be good at code. So we're going to yarn add Gatsby plugin I18N.
Yep, we're gonna try this again.
And this time all we have is a page. So I'm going to change these to .en.
Should be good.
Okay. And let's go into our config. And we're going to drop this down at the bottom. We don't even have remarks, so let's resolve Gatsby plugin I18N. And for our options, we needed a default lang key. Is that right?
That is right.
And I forgot the rest.
The other one was use lang key layout, and that's false.
Key layout, that's false. And then I don't need to pass in anything else. That's it, right?
Correct. That's
okay.
it.
That
is all. So at this point, it should run.
Okay. Drum roll, chat. Maybe a boop roll, since you can't like drum on your desk, dude. Just spam the boop emoji while we get this running. Here we go. Nobody's gonna do it. Killing me. Oh wait, I already have something.
Okay,
hold on. All right, we're getting there. Yeah, okay. Wow, chat, you really that let me down a little bit. Not a single boop. Not a single boop was booped. Now it's just active trolling.
Show me potato salad.
Amberly, how dare you multitask? So I think the manifest is just going to build forever because of that sharp error. But let's go back out.
Yeah, let's see what we got.
Okay, we have.
Are you at 8,000 or 8,001?
I'm at 8,000.
Okay.
Okay, so the 404 worked.
Okay.
Page. Okay. But our index is broken. No, it's not. Something else is broken. What is that?
We're doing great.
This, I think, is the image thing. Something is So I opened an
Yeah.
issue about this and I was told it wasn't an issue. So this is our proof. It's an issue. I'm not making things up. So yeah, something is up with the default starters. Like images don't work in Gatsby right now for some reason. So let's just pull this
That
out.
may explain why my older why I had fewer problems with building off of an existing site. Okay. Thanks, Lori. Lori is on the case.
Lori, Lori, I code and I know things and I test Barth. Okay, so you were going to tell us a story, and then Lori so rudely interrupted us.
So sorry. I think. Oh, I think I was starting to say something about. Well, now there's a dog running behind me, but also I don't know if you can hear the neighbors blasting music, probably to celebrate the fact that we actually have some blue skies today.
We can't even hear it over here. We are all safe.
Beautiful.
We did hear the dog though. We're a little upset that we didn't see the dog, but that's okay.
I'm sorry. The unicorns in the background are. All right. Okay. So we've got. So I was going to say. This plugin is setting us up to break our different translations into different routes based on language. And that is separate from the process of actually translating your site. So how much time do we have?
We have another 45 minutes if you want it.
Okay. And so I wanted to also make sure that we made the distinction, if somebody's actually trying to do this, between those two things, between the internationalization, so like getting yourself prepared to receive translations of your projects.
Sorry, I'm running a Gatsby info for Lori right now.
Oh, it's all good.
I'm just gonna let you screenshot this, Lori, because I don't have the. I'm not gonna try to pull up my email client right now.
And
damn it. Okay, she can't. Fine, I'll try to.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to. Just don't mind me. You were explaining something, and we are like really not letting you do it.
It's okay. It's okay. So the process of translating, of like actually doing the translations versus basically prepping your site. So I know that we had a couple questions about how we were doing this on the Gatsby site, and so if we want to talk about that, we can also talk about that.
Yeah, I think actually what would be really interesting is some of the work on the Gatsby site. Is that like live? Can we look at it?
So you actually, at this point, I believe you should be able to. If we go to, I'm going to the /. I'm trying to remember which languages are finished. So the way that we've got it set up now is we have a separate repo for each language, and I think at this point you will still need to have this running locally. So we haven't released any of this yet.
Okay. Cool.
So the way that we are working on it in development is you add an environment variable when you're running locally, and you can set which. Thank you. You can set which languages you want to have available. And that is based on, and those translations are coming from those different repos that we have set up. And those are all contributors. So two, if anybody is interested in contributing, you can reach out to see if your language is currently being translated. So yeah, all of these Gatsby dash and then whatever the code for that language is. So the Japanese and the Spanish and Portuguese, Brazilian Portuguese,
super cool, yeah,
are all pretty far along.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And sort of as we prioritize different parts of the docs, they're continuously updating those translations. So those are so we're pointing to each of those repos when we set the list of languages, so we can kind of control. We can say, okay, well, Japanese translation is pretty far along. We can add that to our list of languages that we include, because when we're building Gatsby, it is Gatsby Plugin I18N. When we're building Gatsby, we are generating those pages.
Okay.
So, and two, that process is a little bit different from the process of updating UI messages. So we have markdown pages, which are individual bits of documentation. But then we also, there's like a slightly different process for translating UI messages. So like in this example of the page that you're on right now, we also want to translate the word repositories, packages, people, and so on.
Right.
And so that is a different process. And for that, we are using a package called, I've been calling it Lingui in my head, but it also makes sense to call it Ling UI. I'm not sure what the like creators would say. LINGUI.
This one?
Yep.
Cool. Very cool. All right. So this is kind of like, actually, we should probably just look at the docs for this, because this is a very cool thing to see. And the way that these work is you pull in a wrapper, it looks like.
Yeah. So
and then this little T thing.
You're going to use those to mark every place in your project where you have UI that you want to translate. And so that includes, yeah.
And so this is basically like a template tag. Oh, that's cool. So you write, this is your default text. Like if your default language is English, you would write your default text. And then you add this as a template tag. And then that knows to go and look for any image.title and replace if it's not the default language.
Yep.
That is slick. I like that. The one that we used to use when I worked at IBM, you didn't get to use the default language in the UI. You only got to put this in. And so it was fine, but it was really confusing because when you were coding the UI, you had to like put in these keys, and then you had to have a whole other document that was open that like showed you what the keys were, so that you were like editing in two places to put the default language in. Which made it like it worked. It was a good system, and you know, we were able to internationalize. But oof, was that tricky the first couple times you tried to use it, trying to remember like which file keeps all the translations in it, and you know, that stuff.
Yeah, the couple of like small Android projects that I'd worked on, the concept of having a separate file with all of your strings in it, I was kind of like, it's a different way to think as you're writing something new. Various answers. Oh dear. All right. Well,
I'm not
I'll
going to like
Lori.
them. Her answer is I did something wrong, is what she's going to tell me.
I mean, it's probably that I did something wrong. but we can kind of talk about this process. So these are going to reference messages that, and those are going to be your actual translations. So each of these each of these IDs relates back to a message, and you can kind of use that to keep track of the translation of each language for all of your, once you've kind of tagged all of the places where you want to insert those translations, then you actually list out the translations themselves in those message files.
Okay, cool. Should we attempt to put this in, do you think?
We can try.
Yeah. Let's see if we can get like just a piece, right? Because we've got the default starter. Let's see if we can translate just the header. Because the header has like just a little bit in it. We can maybe add a little bit more text as well. Let's do that actually. We'll add a little bit more text that is like, this site is translated. And so now if we go and look at our site, which was where? Here? Yeah, now we've got two pieces. We've got the site title and we've got this little piece of text here.
Looking
so
great.
We can attempt to do this. So should we just install, I guess we can just follow the instructions.
What are you talking about, Jason?
Okay, so we are going to
So I think it was
install.
That works.
Follow setup guide. So we need to install. Oh no, there's so much.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to. Am I going to regret this? Is this something that we're definitely going to regret? Let's just try it. Okay. And then, so these are dev dependencies. So it looks like we're installing the Lingui. I'm gonna go with you, Lingui. I like it. The CLI, and then we're gonna be using Babel macros. It looks like. So that is theoretically so that they can do things with the syntax. Probably like unpacking those template tags. Then once we get those, we need the React library, so we can install that. Ooh, okay. So we need a config file. Okay, I'm just gonna type it because clearly this is not working for me. Linguirc, and then inside, we know those are going to work. Do we know what the format means?
We could also call it Linguini.
Linguini, I am definitely down. So, do you know what PO is?
So that is that's the format that you that you are gonna hold those message translations in. Okay. I had never used it before this process, and it kind of you'll see an example of them in here.
Okay.
So you'll have a folder in that locales directory for each language that you include.
Got it.
And yeah, and so the way that we do this is to, like, all of that gets generated automatically if you are if you add to the locales that you're handling.
Oh, that's cool.
So yeah. Again, props to Nat Allison. She is.
Yeah, this is. I pulled up her Twitter because she is a brilliant engineer and also a world-class shit poster. One of my favorite Twitter accounts to follow. She is hilarious. Um, so,
Absolutely.
and she has been doing a lot of the. She's basically like the lead on this, right? Like on
Yes,
the
absolutely.
localization.
I'm like I am the kind of touch point within the learning team, but Nat has been leading the development work. Absolutely.
Excellent. Okay. And so, do they show a?
You should totally do a follow up with her
I would love to do a
and
follow up with
actually
her.
get it working.
Well, we got it working. We
did.
have actually we should show this, right? So if I take the index file and let's copy paste it, and we'll change this instead to ES, and then we will laugh at how I don't know what home is. I know what house is.
Yeah, same.
How bad is it? Who speaks?
Inicio? Home?
I forgot what the words even were. Is there a Spanish word for website, or is it like one of those things where you just use the English word? Let's see, that's probably wrong. And then we've okay.
That makes more sense.
I have no idea how to translate this one. I don't know. I don't know what okay, we have exceeded my Spanish.
I know, and anytime I try to like remember anything in any other language, it comes out with Brazilian Portuguese.
Oh yeah,
Ooh,
getting bailed out by chat. Thank you very much. Let's drop that right in.
This is like far more realistic. My go-to like demonstration is just Pig Latin.
I think that's the wrong tense of the verb. I'm one of the things that I know I'm doing wrong is I am always attempting to like translate things or like do things that I know people are significantly more qualified to do than me. I'm like, whatever, I'll just like get out there and make a mess. Okay, so let's leave this and we're gonna start it. And what's gonna happen is we should see that after we boot this up, we've got our home page. And we're still booting, so it's loading. Okay. Then, if we go to ES, we get our translated page. So this is effectively like we've done the thing. We have made that work. So now we have like pages themselves. So if we have, we can just go between these. This would be even better if we were using something like MDX or Markdown where you're just writing text, right? Because then you just have the text, you're not duplicating code or anything like that. In this case, it would probably make more sense to use something like UI or like the Linguini.
Yeah, exactly. So for something like your index, for a lot of your pages, probably, if with Gatsby at least, you would probably end up using Linguini. And that allows you to cut down on the repetition. Where something like your Markdown, where it's content almost entirely content, that's a little bit of like an easier sell to have a completely separate file because the whole file is things that you want to translate.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And it's like, I guess it's as you start to scale, the risk that you run when you start doing translation is that anytime you make a change anywhere, that has to get duplicated across every language that you support. And so the thing that we're looking for whenever we translate is to have the minimum change surface area. So what you want is to map it where if you change a word, you should just have to change a word in the translation file. The scary thing is like if we do what we did here, where we've got this whole component and then we duplicated and translated it, the risk we're
Mm-hmm.
running is that now if I do something that's not change related, like let's say I add, some fancy animation, I now have to remember to go move this across to every single file, and we didn't actually change any language. So there's this risk that you run of your code starting to drift, and it starts to look like, I'm going to date myself here, but if you remember in the 90s when you would look at websites and like the homepage would be one way, and then you would click to another page and it would be almost the same, but like something would be different. And then you would click deeper and you just kind of did this archaeological dig of like older and older designs of the site, because they just, every time you built an HTML page, you had to copy paste everything to get it to the place. And as you stopped caring about pages, you would stop updating them. So the HTML would just slowly go out of date. And that's a risk that you run, especially if you've got a fat, like highly iterative team, is that if they're changing the code all the time, those changes aren't going to make it to your translations unless you are really diligent about that. And
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah. So anyways, that's a lot, but okay. So we've got about 30 minutes left on the clock. Do you think we reasonably have enough time to try to get Lingui set up? Because it may be.
Woo! It is certainly possible.
We have requests to try. So I say we
let's
just give it
try.
a shot.
Let's do it.
So the first thing, we've installed the stuff.
Yes.
I need to add these scripts. So let's add these scripts here. I'm going to drop them down at the bottom.
Looks good.
Okay. And so that should mean that I think the big thing that we need to figure out is like, let's see, yarn, let's do this. Yarn add locale es. And that, if I've not screwed anything up, should have created. Okay, so I did something wrong. Oh, I didn't save this,
but it's
this RC file. Okay, so let's remove that locale that I just did. Okay, and we want them to show up here in locale. So let's try this one more time now that I've saved this. And now we have an en and an es, and this. Okay. Is that the whole thing? Do you? So I don't actually know how to read these. So
we haven't actually marked any of our translatable bits.
Okay.
That's the technical term, bits. And so there's nothing for Lingui yet to like grab onto. So we want to mark where in the UI we want to translate messages. Okay. So that's the provider that we were talking about before.
All right. So this extract, that's where it's going to look, right? So it should say that we didn't find.
Oh.
Unexpected token. What does that mean? Isn't it supposed to just use React? Did we installed React, right?
So the idea here is not that this is not going to automatically translate the code. What we're doing is we're saying we're gonna mark where in the code we want to insert translations that we provide.
Okay.
So that was in relation to a point in the chat.
Oh, so yeah, the automations would be like, yeah, you would 100% need to run this through some kind of an API. There are APIs that'll do that, like the Google Translate API and things like that. Chris makes a good point. Do you need a real Babel RC? God, I hope not. So I guess we will just see what happens if we try. this bit, these macros create a, oh crap. All right, is this going to do the thing that I don't want it to do?
I do not believe so.
ID message.refresh. Okay. So if that is correct, then what should happen is we go to React and we install. Is there just an example of? Oh boy. Okay. Do you know where we go from here?
Yes. So we've done the kind of install step of this. I think you've got all of these. So now what we want to do is actually go back to like the page, for example, and like mark where in the code we want to insert new translations.
Okay. And so to do that, we need to import this T, right?
Mm-hmm.
And does that come from?
That is coming from, I believe it's Lingui React.
Okay. And so let's start by trying just this one. And it was T and then do something like this. Oops. And then that's a tag template literal. So we can try just one, right? And then if we like, do we need to wrap anything else? What does it say up here?
So for something like this, which doesn't have any doesn't change, it doesn't have any variables or anything, it suggests using the that trans wrapper.
The trans wrapper. Okay.
Yep. Like
here. Okay. Import trans from the Lingui macro. All right. So I import trans from Lingui macro. And then to use it, we just wrap it straight up. Got it. Okay. So let's do that instead. We'll move this in.
So
what did that do? Like, is that cooperating the way that we want it to? Oh, I haven't started the site.
That'll help. Oh, we're angry.
Okay, so we get in here, and this is the en. Okay, so that's doing what we want. That's good. And then if we go to here again.
So we got a question about what effect internationalization has on SEO. And also I agree that there should be a Star Trek GIF, really just more Star Trek GIFs. That's okay. So when you look at when you run that extract command, what we should get is a generated PO file with sort of like a listing of each of our
I think we're gonna need an actual Babel RC, which is a bomber.
You're right.
Thank you for the heads up on that, Chris. How do we...
But what we'll get eventually from that is a new generated version of those PO files, and those will list out each of the places that we've kind of earmarked as like this needs to be translated, and so we'll get a copy of that basically for each language. So because we have listed English and Spanish, I think, we'll get a folder in locales for each language, and each of those has a messages.po. And so from there, you can fill in the appropriate translations for each of your languages that are not your default.
I don't understand. So Gatsby is saying, okay, I'm just going to put a Babel RC down here because I think Lingui is looking for it. And we'll see if that helps. It just puts macros in. So let's try again. Nope. Doesn't like that header. And that's got to be, like, that's just JSX, so it's like something.
Yeah. So, and I'm sorry, I did not necessarily intend for us to use Lingui or Linguini, as the case may be.
Yeah,
or I would have more
us in
answers
trouble
for
here.
you. It's okay.
So, all right. So, oh my God. Oh no, we're in Babel land. Oh, this is why I use Gatsby. Okay, so Babel preset React. Oh, sad Reacts only. Okay, so we're gonna do this one, and we will yarn add dev this one, and then we're gonna say presets React. Okay. Try it again. Nope. What module? Babel preset React. Didn't I just install that? Oh, presets Babel preset React. That's my fault. Okay. So we have effectively hacked the thingy. And now we have in our English file a message ID and a message string. And then in our Spanish file, we have okay, so that's good. Now, how would I use this? So now if I run it, it should say 0 missing. Yeah, 0 missing. Good. So what do we do next?
Yeah. So now you want to be able to switch between locales. So if we look back at your English, and so I've actually not, we're in new territory for me too. I've not used this with the the Gatsby plugin. So if we look at maybe just like delete your separate index.es file real quick.
Okay.
So what I want to do is test it without the influence of the plugin. Oh yeah, also start the site.
Okay. And then does this one, what I'm curious about is where it gets its, what are you doing? Well, that's useful output. Let's try again.
Right.
So apparently you have spicy secret face. I have resting murder face. Like when I'm thinking about something, I look like I'm ready to crawl across the table and just take somebody down, and you look like you've just got something. You've got something like secret to tell.
There's something happening. I can't tell you yet.
Why are you like this? Class properties isn't currently enabled. Oh my god, did I break this whole thing because I touched the Babel RC, didn't I?
Babel preset Gatsby.
Yeah. Okay, Babel preset Gatsby. Woof. Okay. So I'm going to install this.
I'm sorry. Oh, well,
It's already of
I
course it's already installed. Damn it.
mhm.
Okay.
It sounds like I have my next blog post.
Yeah. Okay, this is gonna work. I believe in us.
Yes.
I believe in Gatsby. We're gonna get it. That was that error. That's just the image thing that is definitely not my fault, Lori. And
definitely, possibly mine, but definitely not yours.
Show me potato salad.
it's gonna work. It's gonna work.
Yeah, I've been in that Party Corgi Discord lately. Oh, it's not broken.
Not broken. Okay, so how
That's
does it detect
exciting.
locale?
I think we may have skipped a step.
Well, yeah. So that was the part I was curious about. So we go to a React project. Okay. So we look at there was tutorials for React. So we get it installed, set up. It looks like we need to wrap the whole thing in a provider. Okay. So I'm going to do that in an inefficient way because I want to get it.
That's okay.
I want to get it working on just this page for right now because I don't think we've quite got enough time to like really get it rolling. So we're just gonna make this page work.
That works for me.
So that then gives us our provider. Okay, that's good. So how do we get language en? All right. So if I just set this to language en, then it should work. What am I looking at? That's not the right thing. This is the right thing. Okay. So let's try es. Nope. Okay, so why isn't that working?
We did delete the index.es.
We did delete, yep. So we did the translation. Extracting messages.
And then, yes, I think I saw a question. So this would be generated, these files would be generated at build time. So you build that, or at least for us, we are building that into the process. So that extract command gets run. And then
we have to run the
also
the
pulling
compile.
in also pulling in the translations of the markdown files for the documentation as well.
Okay, so that says it compiled. So what did it do though? Oh, so it creates a JavaScript file.
Yes.
Got
yes.
it. Oh, and then there's messages. Okay, so let's run it again now that we've got those. And then we're going to go here. Okay, so it's still showing.
So you are.
Oh, wait. So we have to provide the catalogs. Oh, okay. So I'm just getting way ahead of myself is the problem. So we need to import catalog ES from locales ES messages. And then here, catalogs, and then it was just ES catalogs. ES. Is that right?
So I saw a question about whether you could use this with a CMS, with a headless CMS. And so I don't know if that was in. Woo, look at you. So actually, maybe let's go back and talk about what you just did.
Yes.
So we've added a catalog. So now we're saying this is like this is the group of translations that you want to pull from for the messages that we have marked as things that we want to be translated.
Yeah, and so what we have done here is we are telling Lingui where the languages are. So we have the English messages, Spanish messages, and then we're saying for English and for Spanish, use the right catalog, and then we set the default. So if I set it to English, then we know it's going to translate this message, and we'll get the right thing. If I come out here and I change it to Spanish, we get the right thing again. So this lets us basically feed our app the languages that we need. And what we could do that would be pretty powerful here to combine with Gatsby is if I copy paste this and we do the ES, then we could actually make this dynamic where we know that for Spanish, we only need the Spanish catalog. So we could like generate this file. And that's one of the beauties of using Gatsby is like we could find a way to make this automatic at compile time so that we're only loading the language we need, we're only generating the file that we need for the Spanish language and not loading every locale just in case. So with this one, it would be ES. With this one, we would only include the English language, set it to English, and only include this one. And now we have, oops, I got to start it again. Get this one started up. Okay. Reload, and we've got the English version. All right, and then if I go to the Spanish version, we get Spanish. So this is kind of how you would this is how you would like make these things cooperate, right? Because we can do the same thing with our we can do this with the UI using Lingui, and we can do this with the actual pages like our Markdown and our MDX using Gatsby Plugin i18n.
Mm-hmm.
That is pretty exciting.
Yeah, it's looking a lot better.
Yeah.
It's really exciting, and it's really exciting for me to see this work being done on the Gatsby docs, because it's such a community focused project, and it's really awesome to see like the tools to learn how to use it in the hands of so many more people. So I say again, if there are folks who are interested in helping out with those translations, that would be really, really amazing. We've got a bunch already in progress. But if you go to gatsbyjs.org/contributing, you will see the translating Gatsby JS section, which is in the menu. Yep.
Get in there, get those translations. Milan, just in case, I think that was a question. The approach of Lingui is not different from the Gatsby plugin approach. They're complementary. So Lingui would be for translating your UI components and things that are written in code. The Gatsby plugin would be for generating different routes for different languages and getting different like content. So your actual markdown pages. I think I saw, let's see, there's another question up top about using this with headless WordPress. Theoretically, yes, you could use them together. Like you could definitely use it for the UI. The part that you would need to check with WordPress about is how WordPress sends translations over. But theoretically speaking, yes, this would totally work because you could send the WordPress English versions to get built under /en. You could build the Spanish or whatever versions under their language code. And then that would pair with Lingui for the UI for that given language code as well. So, and like what we could do here is we could actually extract the language code from the URL like this to feed it into Lingui so that we've actually got it linked based on what Gatsby is generating. So yeah, I think there are a lot of ways to solve this problem, a lot of cool things that we can do. I think that's about all the time we have today. So Aisha, thank you so much for coming on. This was a grand adventure. I had a lot of fun. It's not very often that we get to really battle some code, and I feel like this was a pretty epic one.
I appreciate the chance to kind of go off script a little bit. It was fun.
Yeah, we dug in, we got our hands dirty, we made something work. So this was wonderful. Dom, did you just show up? You know what? You're always like, oh, let's go. Why don't you go home? You can't even show up on time for something. Jeez, Dom.
Some people, you know.
Aisha, where should people go if they want to follow more of your work online?
Yeah, you can hit me up on Twitter. I am Aisha Blake on Twitter.
Wow, that was a.
I am Aisha Blake and not Aisha Black.
Jesus Christ, sorry.
It happens more often than you would think. And I've just started blogging.
Yes.
Aisha.codes.
And you will soon be posting an internationalization post.
Yes, that is going to be my project this weekend. So you should see something by Monday.
Yeah. All right. Deadlines. I like it. Accountability buddies. Here we go. Everybody go follow Aisha on Twitter so that you can remind her that you expect to see an internationalization post on Monday.
I like it.
Thank you so much for coming on. This has been an absolute blast. Everybody, Dom, thank you very much. I appreciate that. You are wonderful for subscribing. Oh, what's up?
I entirely forgot to say also in mid-April, I'm going to start streaming again at Epsilon X2.
Yes. And are you going to be doing more Twitch things?
Oh, yes.
Epsilon
Always
X2,
Twitch things.
Is that right?
Correct.
Absolutely. Go follow this channel right now and get ready because Aisha's a killer singer. And then what else do you want to stream?
Yeah, so it'll be a combination of Twitch things, other video games. So just mostly RPGs probably. And we're going to definitely get into a lot more coding streams. Thank you, Chris, for the follow.
See, we can see this happening in real time. I know which of you are actually following instructions out there, chat. Go. Yes. Make it happen. Make it happen. I love it. Thank you all so much for coming. I really appreciate it. This has been an absolute blast. Go check the schedule. This is going to be an unbelievable set. This is the 100th episode. You are episode 99, Aisha.
Wow.
So next Monday, we're doing the 100th episode of Learn with Jason. I cannot believe that we have hit 100 episodes. I'm so grateful for you for watching and for coming out. I'm going to try to do something silly. So even if you don't usually watch live, let's watch live on Monday. We're not sure what's going to happen yet, but it's going to be something. That's 10:30 Pacific on Monday. We've also got Ghost coming up. We've got Dan Mall to teach us design systems. We've got Shirley Wu coming back for generative data visualization. We're going to finish that holy bucket, I swear. And then Dom, who can't be bothered to show up on time, will maybe show up on time for his own stream where we're going to talk about Cloudinary and GraphQL. We've got Thor coming back. We're going to do more Stripe Jamstack stuff. It's going to be amazing. We're going to have Nick
Thor
DeJesus on to talk about his donation library, which it's going to be so good. Matt Perry is going to teach us Framer Motion, which is a dope, almost magic React animation library. It's going to be so cool. Doug is going to come on, teach us how to make video perform better. We've got Khalil to teach us about Apollo Client v3. Jinsy's going to teach us how to write custom Alexa skills. Thor's coming back again for one-touch payments on websites. Leslie's coming back to teach Secret Sandwich. Oh, this is going to be so much fun. Thor again. We've got so much Thor content. Ryan Warner Codes is going to teach us about design. Charlie is going to teach us how to control apps with our minds only, mind-controlled apps. So, this is going to be just a fun-filled, completely packed next month of content. I cannot wait for all of these episodes. It's going to be such a blast. So please get set up on the calendar. Make sure that you're following so that you can keep up with us and join in, watch these things live, help us create the episodes, play the sound effects, make some noise, distract us. We can make fun of you in the chat, especially if you're Dom or Lori. And with that, I am going to shut it down. Aisha, thank you again. This has been an absolute blast.
Thank you.
All right, y'all. We'll see you next time. Stay tuned, chat. We're going to raid.